At the beginning of the drama, we see the male lead, Chamin, whose fiancée, Hijin, breaks off their wedding at the last moment because he doesn't look good. Because of this, he becomes sad and is about to commit suicide. But then, out of fear, he starts to step back. But that's when his foot slips, and he is left hanging from the building. In the next scene, we see Chamin's friend, Seun, who is our female lead. She calls Chamin back, so Chamin picks up the phone with great difficulty and says, "Save me." Hearing this, Seun considers his words to be nonsense and says, "It's nothing, we'll talk later." So Chamin says, "Don't hang up the phone. I am about to die. And all of this happened because of you. If you hadn't introduced me to Hijin, and if you had accepted my feelings, then none of this would have happened today." As he is saying this, a star comes from above and takes him away, and Seun, while saying, "Hello? Hello?" hangs up the phone, which results in Chamin's death. In the next scene, it is shown that Seun was a prosecutor. She was investigating a boy's murder case. The other prosecutor, Jiwuk, who wanted to handle this case himself, says to Seun, "This must also be the work of a serial killer, because this murder is just like the previous one. Whoever commits this murder stitches the body in the same way." After that, we see a doctor who does the exact same type of stitching, and his name is Yongch. In the next scene, we see Chamin's soul, which has come out of his body. Just then, two aliens arrive there. These were the same two stars that had accidentally collided with Chamin, and because of them, Chamin had died. Now, to correct their mistake, they bring Chamin back to life with the help of the abyss, but his face has changed. Chamin feels that these two are in heaven and perhaps he has died now, but the aliens say, "You have been reborn, that too, with a new handsome face. If anyone is brought back to life with abyss, they are revived." And then, when Chamin sees his handsome face, he becomes very happy and, looking at himself in the mirror, starts making strange gestures. Just then, one alien says to the other, "He seems to have suffered a head injury." And then they give that same abyss to Chamin and say, "Use this correctly." In the next scene, Chamin looks at his face and quickly changes his clothes. Just then, his mom and aunt arrive there, so he tells them, "I am Chamin's friend." So Chamin's mom asks him about Chamin and calls him, but the phone was right there in the house. That's why Chamin says, "He must have forgotten his phone here." And then his mom talks to someone on the phone saying, "Don't launch the same product until Chamin gives his approval." So Chamin hears this and says, "This must be Mr. Chang's phone. This time, I won't let him succeed in his plans." Chamin's mom then asks him, "How do you know so much about our company?" So he says, "Chamin told me." And then the mom and aunt leave from there. After that, Chamin's mom was worried about where Hijin disappeared to before the wedding, because she had accepted Hijin on Chamin's insistence. Chamin also calls Hijin, but Hijin doesn't pick up the phone. On the other side, Jiwuk tells Seun to drop the case, but she remains adamant about it. And then, she sees Chamin in a photo and says, "I don't like this boy." In the next scene outside the police station, the father of the girl who was murdered was protesting to catch the killer. On the other side, Chamin calls Seun, so Seun is walking while talking to him. Just then, she sees someone near her car, so she quickly twists his arm, causing him to fall down. And then, when Seun sees his face, she just keeps staring at him and says she's sorry, and it was no one else but Chamin. Now Chamin's shirt was completely drenched, which made his handsome body visible to everyone. That's why Chamin covers his body with a poster. But just then, a worker comes and snatches the poster from him, which rips Chamin's entire shirt. And everyone is surprised to see his body, and everyone was being drawn towards him. Then the worker makes him wear the poster again and leaves. Then Seun comes and starts blowing on his wound. Chamin thinks, since when did she become so nice? And just then, Chamin finds out Hijin's location. So he runs from there and goes to that location to look for Hijin, and by mistake, he assumes some other girl to be Hijin. But that girl is not Hijin, but someone else who was talking to a doctor for plastic surgery. On the other side, Seun and Jiwuk had come to interrogate Yongch, but he was busy. After this, we see Giman, who was writing in his diary, "I will punish him with my own hands." Now, on the other side, when Chamin finds out that Seun has been drinking, he brings medicine for her. When Seun sees an old man keeping his belongings outside his house, she starts to take her own things from him and accidentally falls. The old man starts to pick up her things. Just then, on the other side, Chamin sees someone fallen on the road, so he calls the police. But upon checking, he finds out that the man is already dead. The abyss starts burning on its own because he had a dead body with him. Then he remembers that he can bring him back to life with this abyss, but he didn't know how to use it. Now the police call comes, so he leaves the abyss there. Now it is written on the abyss how he can bring a dead person back to life, and the abyss flies on its own and comes to Chamin. And as soon as Chamin brings the police there and sees that the body is not there, the police think that Chamin was drunk. Then Seun calls Chamin saying, "I am leaving the main gate open. You come inside." And she falls asleep. Chamin's phone falls and breaks, and he is unable to see Seun's message. And when he sees that the lights in Seun's house are off, he calls out to Seun. When there is no response, he thinks that she has slept, and he leaves the hangover medicine there and goes away. But then we see someone peeking at her. The next morning, when Chamin comes to Seun's house, he finds Seun's dead body there. Seeing this, Chamin cries a lot and considers himself to be at fault and says, "I was right outside when the light in Seun's house went off." After this, when Chamin's aunt sees his blood-soaked clothes at home, she gets scared. On the other side, when Chamin comes home, the police are also there to catch him. He runs away upon seeing the police, and Chamin was in deep shock from Seun's death. But on TV, it was being reported that Chamin himself is the suspect in Seun's murder. Wherever he went, the police would trace his credit card and reach there, but they couldn't recognize him. And Seun's mom and dad were also crying a lot. In the next scene, we see the past where many people were proposing to Seun, but Seun rejects them and goes to her dad. But among these boys, Chamin was also there. Now in the present scene, after everyone has left, Chamin comes to Seun's dead body and, while crying, says, "You left me all alone. What will I do now? How will I find Hijin? And now, how will I prove myself innocent?" Because in the last message, Seun had contacted Chamin, and then Chamin says to the Abyss, "Just do this one last thing for me. Bring Seun back to life." But Seun doesn't wake up, so he starts speaking ill of the aliens and then goes and sits outside. Just then, a girl arrives there who thinks, "Where have I come? And what am I wearing? I should completely stop drinking." Saying this, the girl looks at Chamin and says, "Hey, that's the same guy." But Chamin doesn't recognize her, and this girl was none other than Seun, whose appearance had also changed. Then she sees that her body is being taken away. Seeing this, she starts to cry and says, "I'm not dead yet. I am alive." But even Seun's mom and dad don't recognize her. So she looks at her face in the car's window and is very shocked. Just then, Chamin takes her away and tells her, "I am the one who brought you back to life with this abyss." And then he tells her about himself, "I am your friend, Chamin." But Seun doesn't believe his words and says, "You are crazy, Chamin. And that too, with a face like yours?" So Chamin makes her believe by telling her things from the past. "How many times I tried to propose to you, but you always refused." Seun asks him, "How did you become so handsome and why have I become like this?" So Chamin tells her, "The abyss brings someone back to life with their soul." It's a bit strange, but this is the truth. But not believing his words, she goes to Jiwuk and tells him, "I am Seun." But he doesn't believe her and calls her by the name Mido. And as soon as Seun grabs his hand, she starts to remember something. Now we see a past scene where someone had grabbed Seun and murdered her. Now in the present scene, Seun faints right there. So Chamin picks her up and takes her to the doctor. The doctor tells him, "Seun is perfectly fine, and now she is sleeping." So a nurse looks at Chamin and says to another nurse, "How did she get such a handsome boyfriend when she herself is not that beautiful?" And as soon as Seun's eyes open, she starts to remember her grave where everyone was crying. Now, on the other hand, Giman, looking at his daughter, says, "Now the work is done." In the next scene, we see that Jiwuk receives a parcel and he looks at the note kept in it. And then at night, Jiwuk goes and opens Seun's grave, and not finding Seun's body in it, Jiwuk was surprised. After that, Chamin and Seun also come to the grave. So Seun says, "Whoever murdered me, I will punish that killer for what he did." And then Seun goes with Chamin to the place of her murder, where she doesn't find any proof. But just then, the police arrive there, and they have to leave. After that, they both go to a restaurant to eat, where Seun was eating a lot. Then Seun looks at her face and says, "This face looks so familiar. After all, how can my soul be like this that I got such a face?" And then Seun goes to get a cold drink. So she asks Chamin to pay. So Chamin starts to pay by card, but Seun stops him because he was a planned suspect. So Chamin says, "Yes." That's when I thought, why the police keep coming again and again. Then she takes Chamin to a shop and sells all his belongings and takes cash from there. And she even sells his branded shoes and then buys 2 smartphones from the flea market. On the other side, Giman was washing his car at night when he receives a parcel. So he says, "Is she alive?" And here, Chamin says to Seun, "I was outside your house at night. If I had gone inside, maybe you wouldn't have been murdered." And then Chamin apologizes to her, so Seun says, "We both have come back to life. Anyway, I don't blame you for this." On the other side, Chamin's mom finds out that her son is accused of murder, so she says, "I will do anything to save him." After that, Seun's aunt was also worried about Chamin. In the next scene, Seun takes Chamin to her mom and dad's shop. But hearing the sound of a clock, Chamin gets scared. So Seun starts complimenting herself and says, "For the past several years, you have been after me because I am so beautiful." So Chamin says, "Maybe you don't remember. Now you are not my type. Looks mattered more to you, that's why you didn't accept me. But with this face, you feel something else, right?" and then he starts showing her his face. Now after this, Seun was sad looking at her mom and dad's photo and says, "My mom always used to put fresh flowers there," and then she falls asleep. Then we see Giman, who was thinking something. Now we see a past scene where he had killed a man because that man had murdered his daughter. It was written on the parcel for him. You thought it was all over, but not yet. After that, on the other side, Chamin asks Seun to have food at a good restaurant, but she refuses. So Chamin asks her for some money and then says, "Why am I asking you for money in 1 minute? All this money is mine." So Seun has to give him the money, albeit unwillingly. Here, mom and dad come to the shop and see that fresh flowers are kept there, which Seun herself had kept. After that, when Chamin comes to Seun asks him, "Where did you spend the money?" So Chamin turns his face away and says, "Don't show me your face." So Seun also says, "I don't know why he has become so handsome." And then they both see a car in the street camera recording. So Chamin asks Seun to find Hijin. So Seun says, "She was only after you for the money." And then she first talks about solving her murder case. That car passed by there at that time, so it's possible that it belongs to that killer. And then she asks about that old man. So Seun says, "I know that old man." And then Seun asks about her belongings. And then she remembers her face resembles Mido, who was Seun's college mate. They didn't get along at all. That's why Mido had quit her prosecutor's job. That's why now Seun goes to live at Mido's house. And then she finds out Detective Dong is Mido's boyfriend. And over there, Dong gets a message from Mido. "I am Mido. Please tell me the address of this number plate car." Seeing this, Detective Dong is surprised because they had broken up and Mido had gone abroad long ago. So Dong's friend tells him, "It's possible she wants to come back to you." At first, Dong thinks about it, but then later he sends the address. So Seun goes to tell this to Chamin. He was taking a bath, and then Seun and Chamin go to Giman's house to investigate, and there they see a photo of Yongch. So Seun says, "I have seen him somewhere." So Chamin says, "This is the same man whom we saw dead on the road and brought back to life with Abyss." On the other side, when Giman goes to Yongch's house to kill him, he meets an old man there who says, "I am Yongch's dad." And then he takes Giman into the house. On the other side, Seun says, "Why didn't you tell me this before?" So Chamin tells her, "I didn't know if Abyss would actually work. He was dying, so I did all this to save him." And then Chamin was surprised thinking that he had brought a serial killer back to life. And then Chamin says, "Did that same serial killer kill you?" So Seun says, "There is no guarantee of that." And then they see Giman's diary where it was written, "I will kill him with my own hands." And the date was of the same day that Seun was murdered. And on the other side, that old man kills Giman. And now we see a past scene. It was Yongch who had killed Giman's daughter. That too, not once but twice. When he was taking her to the hospital, he killed her again. And that old man was none other than Yongch himself. Now in the present scene, Giman says, "How can this be possible?" So Yongch tells him, "My face changed, but I don't even know how I came back to life." And then a fight breaks out between them. Giman hits him, but hearing the sound of the police, he runs away. The police come and take Yongch away. And just then, Seun and Chamin also arrive there. Just then, Dong also comes there and, thinking Seun is Mido, hugs her. And then Dong keeps staring at her in the car, so Seun tells him, "Can you stop staring at me?" So Dong asks her, "Why did you leave me and go abroad? It's a good thing you quit the dangerous prosecutor's job and thought of becoming a lawyer. But why are you here?" Then Dong goes to interrogate Yongch. So Yongch tells him, "I am Yongch's dad, and Yongch hasn't come home for many days. Some people attacked him for no reason." Now here, the abyss starts to glow on its own because there was a dead body nearby. But Chamin gets angry here and he says, "Now I am not going to bring anyone back to life with this." Just then, Jiwuk comes there and says to Seun, "Mido, why did you faint that day?" So Seun says to Chamin, "Assistant, come on, let's see the plan." And then Seun gets an idea, and she forcibly sends Chamin near a dead body. So Chamin does so much drama there that the security guards catch him. So Seun also refuses to recognize Chamin. On the other side, the police go to catch Giman, but he deceives them and runs away. After that, Chamin doesn't talk to Seun because of her behavior. Just then, the detective also comes and holding Seun's hand starts to take her away. But Chamin also starts pulling her. So Seun makes an excuse with the detective and goes with Chamin. And then they both go to have dinner where Seun drinks a lot and says, "I like this body a lot. No matter how much you eat, there is no worry of dieting." And then, as Chamin is about to lay Seun on the bed, he falls on top of her. But after that, Chamin goes to get water. So Seun says, "What has happened to me? No matter how hot he becomes, he is still Chamin, right?" And then, as Chamin comes, Seun starts acting and hugs Chamin. So Chamin pushes her away and starts to leave from there. So Seun says, "Are you going to Hijin?" But Chamin leaves from there. So Seun starts thinking, He knew that I was alone when I was murdered, and even today, he left me alone and went away. And here, Chamin was sitting outside and he sees in Giman's diary that today, he will go to his daughter's grave. In the next scene, Giman was thinking that Yongch is dead, so he was very happy. But just then, Chamin also comes there and sees that Giman is saying something at his daughter's grave. I have killed that killer, and now I am coming to you. But just then, Chamin comes there and stops him and takes him directly to the hospital. And as Giman gets up, Chamin is standing in front of him. And he asks Giman, "Did you kill Seun?" On the other side, we see that Yongch had captured Hijin. And after that, Jiwuk finds out that Yongch's dad had died long ago. And over there, the police were guarding outside Yongch's house. Yongch says to the police, "My son is innocent." On the other side, we see Seun was with the detective. So the detective asks her, "Why do you want to know about Giman and Yongch?" So Seun says, "If I solve this case, my popularity will increase. People will promote me faster." So hearing this, the detective agrees to help her. On the other side, in the hospital, Chamin clicks a photo of Giman and sends it to Seun. Just then, a nurse also clicks a photo of Chamin. Just then, Yongch also comes there, and the detective and Seun also reach there. So they find out someone has taken Giman away, and then they see the CCTV footage. So Chamin says Yongch has taken Giman. Now we see a past scene where Giman had told Chamin, "I only killed Yongch," and Yongch killed Seun. Now in the present scene, Yongch is taking Giman with him. So Seun also follows him by driving the car at a very high speed. So the detective says, "You will kill us today." So Chamin says, "You think you have many lives, but if we both die, then they will have no advantage." Then they find out that Yongch has committed another murder, and this time, fingerprints have also been found. Now on the way, Giman regains consciousness, and they start fighting with Yongch. So Yongch stabs Giman with a knife. While searching for them, Seun, the detective, and Chamin also arrive there. So Jiwuk and the detective start looking for Yongch because he had run away from there. Just then, Giman is about to say something, but just then, he faints. Just then, Chamin's eyes fall on Hijin, so he runs after her. So Seun also starts running after Chamin. On the other side, Jiwuk catches Yongch. So Yongch says, "You can't catch Yongch because I know you well, because my blood runs in your veins." Here, Chamin has a accusation. That's why he is not able to catch Hijin. On the other side, Jiwuk was injured, so he tells everyone he was not Yongch but his dad, who had attacked Giman, and only Giman could recognize Yongch. That's why Seun was worried about him. Then Chamin searches for Hijin everywhere, but he doesn't find her anywhere. So Seun also helps Chamin in searching for her. Just then, Hijin also comes to the police station and tells the police Chamin murdered Seun. So Seun leaves Chamin outside and comes inside. Hijin tells her, "Seun introduced me to Chamin, but Chamin always loved Seun. We were in a relation, but Seun was always between us. And anyway, Chamin had an ugly face. That's why I broke the marriage with him. And before Seun's death, he also came to meet me, and he also had Seun's bracelet." Hearing all this, Seun also starts having doubts about Chamin, that what if he is not the real Chamin? That's why she comes out and doesn't talk to Chamin. So Chamin tries to talk to Hijin. On the other side, everyone finds out that Seun's body has disappeared from there. After that, Seun shows a knife to Chamin and says, "Kill me, just like you killed me before." But Chamin throws the knife and says, "What crazy things are you talking about? And why didn't you tell me that Hijin did it? Told you?" But Seun closes the gate. And the next day too, Seun doesn't talk to Chamin and says, "You are not Chamin." That's why she takes his fingerprint, and from that she finds out that he is the real Chamin. So Chamin gets angry with her and says, "I saved your life, and I also answered your questions, but still, you don't believe me." So Seun says, "This means Yongch will also be resurrected. Then his appearance will also change, but the fingerprint will be the same." Now, out of fear of Yongch, Hijin says on TV, "Chamin, you confess your crime for our child." Hearing this, Chamin starts to leave from there, but Seun stops him and says, "How will you prove yourself innocent? First, you will have to prove yourself to be Chamin." So Chamin says, "I will kill myself with Abyss, and you bring me back to life with it." Then, they both start fighting. Just then, the detective comes there and says, "What are you two doing? You have nothing in your hands. So what are you trying to give each other?" The detective couldn't see Abyss because only those who have been resurrected with Abyss could see it. On the other side, Chamin's mom's condition starts getting very bad as she is not able to find him. After that, Chamin goes to Hijin because of the baby. Hearing this, Seun says, "Why do you believe his every word? It's possible that he is not your baby." So Chamin says, I trusted you, but you doubted me. Hijin is the girl who loves me. In the next scene, we find out that Yongch had threatened Hijin's mom to kill her and made her do all this work. But Hijin didn't know that he was Yongch. And there, on the other side, the police find Hijin's location. So Seun takes a delivery man's scooter from in front of the police station and goes to Chamin and tells him, Hijin has given your location to the police, so you come with me. But Chamin doesn't agree and starts waiting for Hijin. As soon as Hijin comes, someone hits Hijin with a car. And it was no one else but Yongch. Now Chamin starts to bring Hijin back to life with Abyss and says, Abyss will only work where there is only a body. Abyss and me. That's why he doesn't take Seun with him, and Hijin is brought back to life by Abyss. A little later, the police go to the accident spot of Hijin, but only Midu was there, so the detective handcuffs her. After that, Chamin takes Hijin to the hospital. So Hijin was surprised, I am alive even after such a terrible accident. And here Chamin finds out that Hijin is not pregnant, she had lied to him. On the other side, Seun says, I didn't steal the scooter, I took it after asking. Now Chamin takes Hijin to Seun's house because he thinks someone wants to kill Hijin. So Seun gets angry, on which Chamin says, only Giman could recognize Yongch as Yongch, and he is unconscious now. That's why I will kill him and bring him back to life with Abyss. So Seun says, don't talk like a fool. And then Seun says to Hijin, don't go out from here until I come back. Saying this, she goes after Chamin. On the other side, Chamin runs to Giman, but he doesn't have the courage to kill him. Just then, Yongch comes there. So Chamin thinks he is a doctor and asks him, when will Giman wake up? But Yongch says, he will die soon. Saying this, he pushes him, which causes Abyss to fall. So Yongch was able to see it. So seeing this, Chamin understands that he is the same person whom I brought back to life. After that, Seun comes to the hospital and sees that Giman is alive. So she thinks, I knew it, but Chamin can't do such a thing. On the other side, Yongch gives an injection to Chamin. Chamin tries to fight back with him, but Yongch kills him and leaves. From here, Seun calls Chamin, but Chamin doesn't pick up the phone, which makes Seun worried. Just then, she hears the phone ring and reaches there. So there, Chamin was lying in an injured state. Chamin starts giving Abyss to Seun, but just then, he dies. So Seun says, you can't die? I will bring you back to life with this. But Seun had no idea how it works. Just then, it is written on Abyss that after the owner of Abyss dies, whoever is revived after him, this Abyss will go to him, and he will become its temporary owner. After this, Abyss disappears, due to which Seun is unable to do anything and starts crying. And then Abyss on its own reaches Yongch, and just then, Yongch gets a call from someone, from which he finds out that his everything has changed, but the fingerprint is the same. On the other side, Hijin's phone was not working, so she throws it away. Just then, Chamin's mom comes, and she slaps Hijin. And she gets very angry with her and then takes Hijin with her. Now on the other side, the police find Chamin's dead body. So Seun recognizes that he is not the real Chamin. And then when Yongch sees Abyss, he recognizes that it was with that girl. That's why he brings Abyss home with him. So in his washroom, a lady's dead body was lying. On the other side, Detective Dong finds out Seun's murder case is about to be closed because Chamin was the prime suspect, and he himself has died. So Seun says, they can't do that. That's not the real Chamin's body. And then she takes the dead body with her and takes its fingerprints. When Detective Dong scans the print, it turns out to be the real Chamin. And he does this again and again, but every time it turns out to be the real Chamin. So the detective asks Seun, then whose body is this? So Seun tells him, someone has deliberately made his body look like Chamin, so that the case can be closed. So the detective asks this question, so Chamin is not visible? Granted that plastic surgery can be done, but how can it change so much in a month? And his height has also completely changed. So Seun says, if I told you, you wouldn't trust me. And then Seun asks for help. So the detective agrees and says, let's assume this is Chamin, and the police have a fake body, but now both of them are dead, so the case will be closed anyway. So Seun says, if Chamin comes back to life, the case will not be closed. I know this is a bit strange, but just give me 24 hours. Till then, stop this case from being closed. On which the detective convinces the police not to close this case. At the crime scene, Chamin's fingerprints and Yongch's blood were found. So Seun understands that Yongch must have murdered Chamin. Just then, the aunt comes there and says that Hijin used to come here. So Seun says that she should not wander outside like this, and she remembers that she had died once, which means she can also see Abyss. After this, Hijin has a dream. Her dad was beating her and her mom a lot, so Hijin asks for her brother's help. And as Seun lifts Hijin, Hijin is very scared. Seun tells her many things and says to her, "I am Seun, and what do you think? Even after such a terrible accident, you are perfectly fine. Because Chamin brought you back to life with Abyss, and Abyss is now with that killer. And Chamin is also dead now." So Hijin is also shocked. How can that handsome boy be Chamin? So Seun says, "You ask him that. Right now we both can see Abyss, so we have to find it." And then she says to look for Abyss by watching the CCTV footage. On the other side, Abyss starts walking on its own, so Yongch sees it. Just then, the landlady comes to ask for rent from him, so he asks her to sit inside and goes to get money from the ATM. Just then, the landlady goes to his washroom and sees that body. Just then, Yongch comes there, so the landlady starts to leave from there. So Yongch grabs her and kills her. After that, Seun's eyes fall on something in the CCTV from which only those two could see, but Detective Dong couldn't see it. Here, Yongch was burying that corpse. Just then, Abyss wakes up, so he throws it right there. So every time someone comes back to life, the color of Abyss changes. Now, as soon as the landlady comes back to life, Yongch is surprised. A little later, Seun and Hijin, while searching for Abyss, reach there. But there was no one there, and in the washroom they find that same dead body. The detective tells them, a car has just left from here. So hearing this, they both start chasing Yongch. Just then, the news comes that Chamin has died. Seun asks the detective to stop this news. Here, Yongch was also thinking about selling Abyss. And here, Seun and Hijin were searching for him. Just then, Seun's eyes fall on Yongch, and Hijin also sees Abyss. But seeing Yongch's face, she gets scared and, covering her face, runs to Seun and tells her, "That same man tried to kill me and told me to lie on TV." So Seun tells her that he is Yongch and his face has changed. Now we see a past scene where Yongch was her dad who used to beat Hijin and her mom. Now in the present scene, Hijin refuses to help Seun. On the other side, hearing the news of Chamin's death, his mom's health deteriorates. And here, Seun finds Hijin's phone. Just then, she gets an idea. After that, Yongch, who was looking at Abyss, just then he gets a live voice from Hijin's phone, and he understands Hijin is still alive. That's why he goes to the hospital. And this whole plan was Seun's. That's why she does all the makeover like Hijin and also calls the detective there. Now, as soon as Yongch comes into Hijin's room, the police also come there, and Abyss also starts to glow. Now, as soon as Yongch sees the body's face, it is Chamin, and he starts to come back to life. And here, Seun was praying that her plan should just work. Now, seeing Chamin alive, Yongch starts to kill him. But just then, hearing someone's voice, he runs away. Just then, Seun comes there and sees Chamin has come back to life. Now, as soon as Chamin gets up and looks, he gets scared and says, "How did that girl become a boy?" So Seun hugs him, but Chamin was not letting her touch him because he thought that he had become a girl. And then Chamin looks at his face in the mirror. So he takes off his wig and asks, "Why did you make me wear this wig like this?" So Seun tells him everything. Hearing this, Chamin says, "I am perfectly fine. Abyss is really unique." So Seun tells him, he has it, Yongch has it. Until he dies, Abyss will not come to you. Here, Yongch deceives the detective and runs away and locks down the whole hospital. But just then, a patient was being taken out, so the police start to check him. But due to being serious, the doctor doesn't let them check. Just then, everyone finds out that Yongch has run away from the hospital because Yongch was that patient. In the next scene, Seun was sleeping in the car. So seeing her injured, Chamin lovingly makes her sleep on his shoulder because Seun also had not slept for many days. On the other side, the detective tells everyone that this old man is Yongch. I don't know how he suddenly became an old man, but whatever it is, we just have to catch him. Just then, Chamin's mom comes there and asks for the details of Seun's murder case, but they all refuse. Just then, Chamin's mom scolds everyone a lot. She was very sad here, and seeing Chamin's death report, she starts to faint. Just then, Chamin comes and catches her. Seeing him alive, the detective's eyes and mouth are left wide open, and he faints. In the next scene, the detective was doing a strange checkup of Chamin and was saying that I saw you dead with my own eyes. He tells him that he is Chamin himself. Right now, it is important that he is not the killer. Yongch is Seun's killer. The detective says that there should be some proof against him too. Now mom makes Chamin get all the checkups done so that it can be found out that he is really Chamin, and he turns out to be the real Chamin. On the other side, Seun has terrible dreams of the murder. Chamin goes to the company where everyone is shocked to see him. So Chamin tells them that there is a personal reason behind my face change, but how can you think about changing the product without my permission, whose ingredients are so bad? Now after the argument, they have to accept his words. And seeing all this, Chamin's mom says, "This is my real Chamin." Now on the other side, mom had asked Hijin to get a pregnancy checkup done. but Hijin deliberately starts vomiting because if everyone finds out, she will be thrown out of the house. That's why she posts to show a fake pregnancy. Just then, she gets a reply, "You have to come here." And it was no one else but Yongch. A little later, Hijin goes there and was waiting for the postman. Just then, she gets a message with her mom's photo. Seeing this, Hijin calls him. So it was Yongch. Yongch understands that this sphere has also brought Hijin back to life. And then Yongch asks Hijin, "Besides us and Chamin, who else has been brought back to life by this sphere?" So Hijin tells him, Seun. On the other side, Seun finds a photo of a girl in Giman's diary. Just then, Auntie had cooked food for Chamin. Seeing this, Chamin becomes very happy, and when Auntie was feeding Chamin, seeing this, Seun remembers her parents. Seeing her sad, Chamin starts feeding her. Just then, Seun gets a call from someone and he says to Seun, "If you want to save your parents, then come here without telling anyone." Hearing this, Seun quickly starts to leave. So Chamin stops her. Seun says, "If anything happens to me, instead of saving me first, save them whom I want to protect." On the other side, Yongch had tied up Seun's mom and dad. As soon as Seun comes there, Yongch sees her and says, "You have really changed." And then he scans Seun's fingerprint and immediately gives her an injection. And then, when Seun gets up, Yongch is standing in front of her. And he asks Seun many questions, but Seun refuses and says, "If you want to know everything, then first let my mom and dad go." But Yongch starts hitting her. Just then, Chamin reaches there. So a fight starts between Chamin and Yongch. So Yongch grabs Seun's mom. Just then, the police arrive there. So Yongch was taking Seun's mom with him. Just then, Jiwuk comes from the front. So seeing the gun, Yongch runs away. So Jiwuk says, "Now everything is over, and you will get punished for your deeds." Now we see a past scene where Jiwuk's dad was beating him, and he was no one else but Yongch. Now in the present scene, Chamin and the detective were going to catch him. Just then, Yongch is caught, and Seun's mom is taken to the hospital. So Seun says to Chamin, "I will tell mom and dad everything, just like you told me." So Chamin says, "Your case is different because everyone got your body, and they buried you with their own hands." So Seun says, "Yongch has been caught, now I want to live my life as Seun." On the other side, when Seun and Chamin go out, the old man asks those people, "Was Seun's killer, that boy, caught?" So Chamin says, "The killer was not a boy, but an old man." So that old man says, "No, I didn't see his face, but he didn't look like an old man at all. I saw him leaving Seun's house that day. I thought he was her boyfriend." Hearing this, Seun remembers, at the time of the murder besides Yongch, there was someone else there too. Now we see a past scene where Yongch had killed Seun, but she was not completely dead. Just then, someone else comes and kills her. Now in the present scene, remembering all this, Seun's condition was getting worse, so Chamin starts to take her away from there. Just then, his mom sees him from afar. After that, Chamin asks Seun to rest. Seun was not sleeping, so Chamin recites math formulas to her because during school time also, he used to recite formulas to her because Chamin used to come first and Seun second. That's why Chamin used to help her in her studies. Just then, Chamin also sat there and fell asleep. As soon as Seun gets up and looking at him says, "You always supported me." Saying this, she moves forward to kiss Chamin. Just then, hearing the sound of the phone, she goes back to sleep. So Chamin picks up the phone. After that, Hijin was angry with Chamin. That's why Hijin says, "Yes, it's true. I was with you for money, but I broke the marriage later because as I lived with you, I wanted something more than money," because she had started liking Chamin. And then she shows Chamin a photo and says, "Yongch was my dad, who used to beat me a lot. That's why I broke the marriage, so that nothing happens to you. You stay safe, because he killed my first love too." On the other side, Yongch was laughing and confessing his crime. Just then, Dong comes, and he says, "You have killed 12 people. Yongch says, "But I have saved more people than that. And besides, I haven't killed 12 people but 11 people, because Seun is still alive." In the next scene, Seun says to the detective, "An old man told me that at the time of the murder, a boy also came out of Seun's house." The detective says, "This won't happen. The old man must not have seen properly at night. Did Yongch not say that he did not kill Seun? He was saying that Seun is not dead." On the other side, Hijin apologizes to Seun. Seun says, "You told Yongch about me being alive, because of which my mom and dad barely survived." And she asks all this from Hijin. So Chamin tells her he is her stepfather. Here, Seun gets to know everything. Then she says to Hijin, "You go to meet him." Then she installs a camera there and says, "You ask him about his partner." On the other side, Hijin asks Yongch, "Where is my mom?" Yongch says, "I don't work alone. She will be upstairs on my one order. You think whose side you are on?" After that, the detective was going to dinner all dressed up. Just then, a girl comes there and says to the detective, "You didn't recognize me, I am Midu." So the detective, thinking she is crazy, leaves from there. In the next scene, Seun and the detective were having dinner. Seun says, "Don't think that we are together again. This was just a partnership." Hearing this, the detective's heart breaks. And on the other side, Hijin deletes the conversation about her mom with Yongch. Hearing the audio, Seun and Chamin understand that Yongch has one more accomplice. In the next scene, Chamin tells Hijin to find his mom. In this, Yongch had run away. So Seun goes to get his dash camera, but she finds out that Jiwuk had already taken it. After that, Jiwuk was watching that same recording. Just then, a girl comes to help him. Jiwuk says, "Thank you." On the other side, Chamin had called Seun to his office to talk. When Seun goes there, she says to Chamin, "Are you the only one busy here?" Saying this, she starts to leave in anger, so Chamin pacifies her. Then, by mistake, he falls on her. Everyone was watching him, so Seun leaves from there. Seeing them, Chamin's mom says, "This lawyer always roams around Chamin. Check her background." Now, as soon as Jiwuk leaves, Seun and Chamin go to his office and make a plan. Then she goes and installs a camera there and sits in his office. She opens his laptop, but seeing the assistant, she hides. Then as soon as the assistant leaves, she starts watching that recording and copies the file. After that, they all watch the recording together. So in it, there is only jungle and jungle. That is, they have kept Hijin's mom in such a place where there is only and only jungle. After that, everyone reaches that hospital and asks about Hijin's mom from the reception, but the reception refuses. But still, everyone searches for Hijin's mom everywhere, but someone had already taken her away. Just then, they see a car and start chasing it. In the next scene, we see that the one who took Hijin's mom was none other than Jiwuk. When they were chasing the car suddenly disappears. Later, they find that car, but just then the car jumps, seeing which they all get out and see that the car blasts. Seeing this, Hijin starts crying. Just then, the police arrive there, but the police do not find any body in the car. On the other side, a lady takes Jiwuk's mom home, saying that she has gone mad due to the death of her child. In the next scene, to test Abyss, Yongch kills a man and then laughs, seeing him come back to life. After that, Jiwuk starts looking at the family photo kept in his box. Just then, we see a past scene where Yongch says to Jiwuk, "Hijin's mom is still alive. I have hidden her in the hospital. Now you take her from there and hide her somewhere else." Hearing this, Jiwuk refuses, but Yongch says, "If you want to remain the chairman's son, then you will have to do this." And Seun is still alive. So Jiwuk says, "If Seun is alive, then this is not good at all." In the next scene, Hijin gets a message that if you want your mom alive, then you will have to give Seun's address. After that, the real Mido is thrown out of the office. So Mido calls the detective to come, but the detective, thinking it's a wrong number, cuts the phone. So Mido messages and orders a fingerprint scanner. And when Seun comes to the office and sees, the real Mido is there. So Seun says to her, "Who are you? How can you enter my office like this and call yourself Mido?" And she says that I am the real Mido. I have had plastic surgery. Just then, Mido gives her the same abuse that she used to give before. But just then, the guards come there and take her away. Seun says to Chamin, "Please do something if that Mido will put me in jail." In the next scene, Chamin gives a lot of money to Mido and tells her to keep her mouth shut. Mido starts to leave. So Seun catches her and says that I have changed your house password and says that my stuff is there. I will come to take it later. In the next scene, seeing her stuff at home, Jiwuk says that Mido is Seun. Hijin was very worried. Seun notices this. When she was messaging, Seun reads that message. In the next scene, Jiwuk orders a man to kill Mido. That man enters Mido's house, and Mido sees the light off and turns it on. Just then, Seun comes there and asks if you are okay. Suddenly, the light goes off and someone attacks both of them. Chamin comes and sees that Seun has been stabbed. He starts crying. In the next scene, he tells her that I always come late. I'm sorry. Seun's doctor comes and says that her condition is not serious. She will be fine very soon. Hijin comes there. So Chamin gives her money and says that if you need more, tell me and get out of here. But Seun stops her from leaving and says that she will stay with her and take care of her. Hijin apologizes to Seun. Now the detective had also come to the hospital. Mido says that you have to tell everyone the truth. Mido does a fingerprint scan. So she is the real Mido. And then she scans Seun. So she turns out to be Seun. Mido says, "Why did you get such plastic surgery?" Now Detective Dong is very surprised to see this because the real Seun had died. Chamin says that this is the truth. I am also standing alive in front of your eyes. The detective asks Hijin, "You don't believe in all this, right?" But Hijin tells him that she also died and came back to life. The detective was just left surprised. It seems that dying and coming back to life has become a trend. So Chamin shows his DNA test. Seun says that the one who came to kill Mido thinking she was Seun was Yongch's accomplice. The detective says that Seun's acting of Marioni, so that the killer, thinking Seun is dead, does not take a new step. Hijin messages that Seun is dead, so tell me about my mom. But he asks her to wait. Mido shifts to a new house. The detective shows a photo to some people and says that this man was wandering around Mido's house. That man had committed murder on Jiwuk's orders to get his mom treated, but Jiwuk kills him with a suicide note. He even gives him the phone with the message. At night, Seun says to Chamin, "Don't hate Hijin because of me." Chamin says, "After all this happened, I found out that I don't like her." So Seun says to him, "Don't leave me. Stay here until I fall asleep." So Chamin sits next to her. So Seun grabs him and kisses him. So after that, Chamin also kisses Seun. Now we see that Seun, while sleeping, sees a dream of herself and Chamin and wakes up. In this dream, Chamin was teasing her by saying that I have become so handsome. And when Chamin comes to her, Seun runs away from him. And after that, they both go for breakfast where Seun, looking at Chamin's lips, remembers last night's kiss. Then she gets angry with him and says, "Whatever happened, don't think that I have said yes to your proposal." And then they both are going somewhere. So Seun, looking at Chamin, thinks, "Why is he so dressed up today? He looks very good though." On the other side, Chamin's mom was thinking about Mido that she is a good girl. And then she slaps Hijin and says to her, "You faked the pregnancy." Saying this, Chamin's mom tells her to get out of the house. But Hijin refuses and threatens, "I know many secrets of the company." Saying this, Hijin comes out and says, "Until I find my mom, I am not going anywhere from here." On the other side, Hijin's mom tells that blind woman to call her children, but that woman says, "You are asking me to call your dead children?" Hearing this, Hijin's mom says, "My children are alive." On the other side, Jiwuk finds out that to catch the killer, Detective Dong had faked Mido's murder. After that, Seun's dad says to sell the shop, but Seun's mom refuses. Seeing this, Seun goes to them. Just then, on the other side, Chamin calls to get the window fixed and also calls the employees at their shop for food. And here, Seun says to her mom, "I am Seun's friend. Can I call you mom?" So Seun's mom says yes to her. Just then, a lot of people come there to eat whom Chamin had sent. And when Seun was helping her mom stops her and gives her food to eat. When Seun is eating, mom says, "You eat just like Seun. But tell me one thing. Why was that killer calling you Seun that day?" Hearing this, Seun makes an excuse. Then her mom says, "You look very different from Seun, but I feel like you are my daughter." Hearing this, Seun gets emotional. On the other side, that man who was caught, whom Jiwuk had hired and had killed him. But Seun was surprised. How can he commit suicide after committing a murder? Here, Hijin was also worried about how she will find out about her mom now. So Seun says, "Surely Yongch's accomplice must have killed him." Just then, Jiwuk calls Dong, from which he finds out that Seun is with him. After that, Chamin was waiting for Seun. Just then, a car was parked in front of the kit. So Seun comes and moves that car back. So the car gets hit. When Seun opens the car's trunk, a lot of balloons come out of it. So Chamin quickly hides those balloons and stops Seun from opening the trunk. Just then, Seun's eyes fall on the car's front camera. So she checks it and says, "Surely they must have run away before the car exploded." Now on the other side, we see that Jiwuk's hand was injured. Just then, we see a past scene, when Jiwuk was getting Hijin's mom out of the car and had left the car's accelerator on and gone from there. And at that very moment, Jiwuk's hand got injured. Now in the present scene, Hijin, Seun, and Chamin come to find the exit in the tunnel, which they also find. On the other side, Yongch tells a worker to bring detergent and bleach. After that, Jiwuk gets a call from that blind lady and she says, "This woman has burned her hand. So what should I do now?" Now we see Hijin, Chamin, and Seun, who come to a shopkeeper and ask him about Hijin's mom. But the shopkeeper didn't know anything about it. That's why the shopkeeper calls a taxi driver for them. So they ask the taxi driver about Hijin's mom. So the taxi driver says, "Yes, I gave them a lift." Then that taxi driver drops the three of them at the same place, but they don't find anyone in that house. Then Hijin starts crying a lot because Jiwuk had brought Hijin's mom to the hospital. And then Chamin and Hijin start searching for mom nearby. Just then, by mistake, Hijin's ankle gets sprained. So they take Hijin to the hospital. Then Seun goes to get coffee for herself. Just then, her eyes fall on Jiwuk. So she goes to Jiwuk. So Jiwuk says, "I came here for some work." So Seun says, "My friend got hurt." Now Jiwuk says, "Someone told me that he saw Yongch's wife. I came here to confirm that." Hearing this, Seun tells him everything and goes with Jiwuk and messages Chamin. And then when Chamin was taking Hijin, he hears a voice, and there was Hijin's mom who was calling him. They go and hug each other, crying. Chamin says to that lady, "She is Hijin's mom, so we will take her with us. Hearing this, that blind lady says, how can this be possible? Her children are dead, and besides, I am not a guardian. You have to ask the prosecutor Jiwuk about this. Hearing this, Chamin is surprised, and he directly calls Seun, but Seun doesn't pick up his call, and she says to Jiwuk, we have come so far. There is no house nearby. Just then, Jiwuk gets a call, but he also doesn't pick up the call. And then a call comes again. Jiwuk doesn't pick up the phone this time either, so Seun picks up that call. Just then, that blind lady says, the lady you brought, someone is calling her his mom. From behind, Hijin's voice comes, which Seun hears. And then she makes an excuse that people make so many prank calls. But Jiwuk was getting very worried here, so he stops the car and says, I'll just make a call and come back. Hearing this, Seun also comes out talking on her phone and says, yes, Detective Dong, I see where we are. I'll send the location now. And she starts showing the photo and says, look, Jiwuk is with me. Seeing all this, Jiwuk starts to get angry. So Seun makes an excuse of going to the washroom and leaves because she was very scared and she had recognized Hijin's voice. And she was making an excuse of Detective Dong and talking to Chamin. Here, Chamin quickly comes to her, and Jiwuk was waiting for her outside. Just then, a loud knocking sound comes at the gate, so Seun opens the gate in fear, but it was Chamin. Just then, she feels relieved and hugs him. Chamin tells her, Jiwuk has left from here. Seun gets a message from Jiwuk that I had to go for some urgent work, and I found out that Yongch's wife is in the hospital. And on the other side, for the safety of Hijin and her mom, Chamin keeps them in his guest house, and he opens a secret door in his room for Seun and says, you will stay here. This is the safest place about which even my mom doesn't know yet. Seeing this, Seun was surprised. So, Chamin says, whoever mom doesn't like, I keep them here. And then Chamin looks at his dad's photo and says, even after the divorce, I used to secretly go to meet my dad. Even if he was nothing in my mom's eyes, but in my eyes, he was perfect. Now we see a past scene where once Chamin's dad saw Seun's photo in his bag and asked him, is this your girlfriend? And then Chamin's dad says to him, if that girl knows how to recognize the right boys, then she will definitely like you. Just then, his dad starts having pain. So Chamin says to his dad, why don't you get your surgery done from mom? But Chamin's dad avoids the topic and starts having fun with him. After that, we are shown that Chamin was crying at his father's funeral. Now, in the present scene, Chamin says to Seun, if I had Abyss at that time, I would have first brought my dad back to life. Seun says, thank you for saving me every time. Just then, Seun finds something there. So she asks him, why did you keep this separately? So Chamin says, you gave this to me once on Valentine's Day. You gave me chocolate. Saying this, you have a lot of chocolates, but you don't even remember. Leave it. So Seun says, you are really an idiot. You believed that lie. Chamin says, did you really bring that chocolate for me? Why? Why did you do that? Seun says, I don't know why you are so happy. Just then, she starts to go out and stumbles. So Chamin says, this is automatic. It opens when you press it. Saying this, he moves forward to kiss Seun. Just then, by mistake, the button is pressed and the door opens, and Seun comes out. So Auntie is in front. Just then, Chamin also comes out from inside, and hearing their conversation, she leaves from there. And after that, at lunchtime, Auntie talks to Seun. Chamin never takes anyone to his secret room. Once, by mistake, she went to clean, so he forbade me from going there. Today, he himself took you to his room. I thought that Seun would be the first girl to go to that room. Maybe Chamin likes you a lot. Seun was very happy in her heart. In the next scene, we see that Mido was quitting her job. Hearing this, Seun tells her not to do that, otherwise I will be unemployed overnight. Just then, seeing a young tour on TV, Hijin's mom starts crying. Further, we see that Chamin returns Giman's diary to him. Now, Yongch was being taken away, and he was under strict guard. Yongch is brought to Seun's house, where he was telling how he killed Seun. Everyone was angry with him. Seeing him, everyone gets agitated. Seun's dad starts hitting him. Yongch says he wants to go to the washroom, so he is taken there. He doesn't come out. So the officer goes inside and sees that foam is coming out of his mouth. In front of the reporter, he couldn't take him to the hospital. Just then, that police lady says that I will take him from the back door, and she takes him with her in the car. And then it is found out that she is the same receptionist who had met Yongch, and this foam was detergent and bleach that she had ordered in jail. That receptionist had helped him because Yongch had saved her life by killing her abusive father. In the next scene, Yongch was planning something big. On the other side, Hijin's mom gives a flower to Chamin and says that you are so handsome. You are only my prince. Seeing this, Seun gets jealous. So Seun says, no, he is only mine. Just then, Hijin's mom goes inside. Just then, Chamin starts teasing Seun. Then he takes her to the secret room, and they listen to music together and have fun. Outside, Chamin's mom comes. Seun tells Chamin to go out, but he refuses and says that mom should not know about this room. Seun insists on going to the washroom. Mom was about to leave, but she gets a call, so she sits right there and starts talking. And here, they were getting very restless. Both of them were in a very bad state. These two were just waiting for Mom to leave. As soon as Mom leaves, Seun quickly gets out and runs away and says that, "I am going for a walk." As soon as she leaves, Chamin gets a call from the detective. He tells him to take care of Seun because Yongch has run away. So Chamin goes to call Seun, but she was listening to music, so she doesn't hear his voice. Chamin's eyes fall on Abyss, which was coming towards Seun. Just then, Yongch was coming to kill Seun. Just then, someone throws a stone at Yongch, and she was Hijin's mom. Chamin comes and tells Seun that Yongch has run away. Hijin's mom was telling him to run away from there. Just then, Seun comes there. Chamin says to Hijin that if you are hiding something, then tell us. So Hijin tells that now my mom has found me, so I have changed now. Chamin says to Seun that now Yongch has come out, so now you don't go anywhere alone. At night, Seun gets up and starts to leave, but Chamin was sitting right there. He sends her inside again. Seun repeatedly comes out. He makes her sleep on his bed with him. Now he was about to kiss her when some noise comes from outside. A guard comes and tells Chamin that this bloodstained stone was found in his garden. On the other side, Hijin was making her mom remember her number, but mom writes someone else's number and says to call Taejin. So Hijin says that Taejin is dead. So then she gives her phone to her mom and says that if anything happens, call me. Then the detective tells Hijin that on the stone, Yongchul's and her mom's blood was found. Hijin, out of fear, starts to take her mom away from there. Just then, the detective says that you both can stay at my place. Just then, Mido comes there, and the detective says that I can't let any other girl stay with you. That's why these two can stay at my place. Now, mom calls Taejin, and the call is picked up by Jiwuk. That is, Jiwuk is Taejin. He doesn't say anything and says that he still remembers my number. Hijin tells them that mom should not call anyone, only me. Seun asks her who Taejin is. Hijin tells that he is my brother who died many years ago when Yongchul used to beat us, so he used to save us. After that, Chamin takes Seun to the office. He says that you become my assistant. In the next scene, girls were repeatedly looking at Chamin. So Seun asks Chamin when you will go home. You are the boss, you should go home early. On the other side, Chamin's mom comes to Mido's parents with Chamin's proposal. But Mido's parents say Mido was dating Detective Dong. So Chamin's mom gives them a check as a bribe. Seeing this, Mido's dad gets angry and throws them out of the house. On the other side, Hijin and her mom were at Mido's house. Just then, Mido gets a call from her mom. She says to Mido, "Have you broken up with the detective and are you dating Chamin?" And then she calls Mido home. Hearing this, Mido leaves from there. On the other side, Yongchul says to Jiwuk, "How did you lose that crazy girl? We needed her for my plan, and I have to die again and come back to life." But Jiwuk does not trust him. So Yongchul says, "Seun also came back to life when you killed her with your own hands." Now we see a past scene where Jiwuk had erased all the evidence, but Seun was still alive. So Jiwuk killed her again. Now in the present scene, Yongchul says, "I will die and come back to life with this abyss, but my face will change. But to bring me back to life, I need her who can see it. That is, Hijin will bring her dad back to life." After that, at night, Hijin's mom goes out to the washroom and gets lost. So a man asks her, so she takes Hijin's name. So that person calls Jiwuk and says, "If you are her son, then come and take her." On the other side, when Seun finds out that her mom and dad are at the farmhouse, she becomes very happy. And here, Jiwuk reaches Hijin's mom, so he switches off mom's phone and gives her something to drink. After that, Chamin gets a call from Hijin. "My mom is missing." And just then, Hijin's mom, sitting in the car, turns on the phone and faints there. So Seun calls Hijin's mom and asks the detective to trace the call. On the other side, Jiwuk removes the phone's battery and takes mom inside to Yongchul. So Hijin's mom grabs Yongchul and says, "Taejin, run away." When they were children, when Yongchul used to beat Jiwuk, mom would grab Yongchul and say, "Taejin, run." Now, when Yongchul starts to kill mom, Jiwuk stops him. So Yongchul starts to beat Jiwuk, but Jiwuk starts to strangle Yongchul. So Yongchul beats him with something. Just then, the police reach there, and Hijin's mom is found unconscious, and Jiwuk, in an injured state, drives away in the car. Just then, Seun sees another person's footprint there. After that, Jiwuk is at home. Just then, he remembers a past scene. When Jiwuk was small, he sees the chairman killing his wife and harming his son. Then he told him that, "I will cover this up." And since then, he started living there as the chairman's son, Jiwuk. Gi-man gives the chairman a photo of his real son and says, "You have to admit your mistake and tell everyone the truth that he is not yours but Yongchul's son." Seun finds out that besides Yongchul and the receptionist, another person's DNA was found there, and that person's DNA matches Yongchul. Seun asks Hijin about Taejin. She tells that Taejin is Yongchul's real son, but he was my good brother. One day, he suddenly disappeared. We thought he was dead. Seun takes both of them home to rest and stays at the hospital herself. Just then, she sees Jiwuk there and asks him what you are doing here. He says that I came to ask about Yongcheol's wife's condition. And then he goes to meet Hijin's mom and says to her, I told you to forget Taejin. I hate you so much. You couldn't even save me. So why do you provoke her? And then he leaves after seeing Seun. Chamin still had doubts about Jiwuk. After that, seeing the wrong number in the notebook, Seun thinks, maybe this number belongs to Taejin, and then she calls that number. So no one picks up the call, but the sound of the bell was coming from there itself. That's why Seun follows that ring. So Jiwuk comes out, and he was also injured. So Seun grabs Jiwuk and asks him, you must be Taejin. Jiwuk says, who will believe your words? Saying this, Jiwuk leaves. So Seun starts crying and says, Jiwuk is Taejin. After that, Jiwuk comes to Hijin and says, I am Taejin. Save me. So Hijin takes care of him. Now we see a past scene where, in childhood, he used to get beaten himself instead of Hijin. That's why Hijin says to him, why did you leave us and go? You don't know what happened to us. So Jiwuk apologizes to her and tells her about Yongcheol's plan to come back to life. Now Hijin says, I know what to do. To prove that Jiwuk is Yongcheol's son, Seun didn't have any proof. That's why Chamin and Seun think about the DNA test. After that, Detective Dong comes to his office to find Daewuk's hair for the DNA test. Just then, Jiwuk comes there. So Dong says, I came to check this. Whether you are Taejin or not, that's why I need your hair. Hearing this, Jiwuk was refusing. Just then, the chairman comes there and says, he is my son. Give him whatever he wants, and take mine too for comparison. Just then, they get the sample. On the other side, Chamin had come to see the product. So there, the girls, seeing Chamin say, he is so handsome. Hearing this, Chamin starts applying lipstick on them. Seeing this, Seun doesn't feel good, and she grabs Chamin and takes him to the jewelry store. So Chamin buys a packet and starts to leave. Then they find out that Hijin has gone somewhere without telling them. They start to worry about her. On the other side, Hijin asks Jiwuk, where will Yongcheol be? Here, the chairman and Jiwuk's DNA test had matched. Now Seun scolds Detective Dong, because here the chairman had replaced Jiwuk's hair with the real Jiwuk's. Now Jiwuk understands the real Jiwuk is also alive. On the other side, Seun was upset, because the DNA test has proved that Jiwuk is the chairman's son. And now, how will she prove him guilty? Now, Seun was upset, and she was not sleeping at night. So Chamin takes her to a secret place where she becomes very happy after coming and says, if I hadn't come back to life, I wouldn't have been able to live this life. And then I wouldn't have been able to tell you that I have liked you since school. That's why I gave you chocolate on Valentine's Day. So Chamin asks, why did you reject me so many times? So then Seun says, you gave up so quickly. Hearing this, Chamin kisses her and makes her wear a necklace, and then Chamin proposes to her. So Seun accepts, and both are very happy. Seun says, are those aliens still watching us? I wish we could get one more abyss. Now from afar, that same old man was smiling watching them. Just then, Chamin gets a call from Giman. I want to tell you something. But just then, a child and her mom are narrowly saved from Giman's car. But it was the child's fault. That's why her mom apologizes to Giman. So Giman asks them to go to the hospital, but she refuses. He gives them his business card for help. Now a boy smiles, seeing him, and says that it is very easy to trap Giman. Now the police come to Giman's house and charge him with a hit and run. Giman says that I had asked them to go to the hospital and had also given them my business card. You can check the dash camera. The police say that there is no memory card in it. And now Seun and Chamin were waiting for Giman, but he doesn't come. Now Seun gets a message from Hijin that I have to tell you something. Yongcheol had told her to do so. They all come to that address, but Hijin is not there. They find that receptionist there, and she arrests them. Hijin's message comes to Seun that Yongcheol doesn't know how to use Abyss. Now I will use it against him. Thank you for everything you did for me. Now it's my turn to do something. Seeing all this, Seun gets very worried. And on the other side, Yongcheol asks about the hidden camera, but she doesn't tell him. She slaps him. Hijin shows him an injection and says that if I kill myself, how will your plan work? Hijin doesn't pick up the phone. So these people press her location and start going there. On the other side, Jiwuk had locked Hijin's mom in a room with poisonous gas. Then he blackmails Hijin by showing her. Just then, these people reach her location. Hijin hears the car's sound, and Yongcheol snatches the injection from her. And he says to Hijin that after I die and come back to life, my face will change, and no one will be able to recognize me. Now he looks at Hijin and injects himself. Seeing him dying, Hijin says with a laugh, no matter how many times you die and come back to life, your soul will not change, and only Chamin can bring you back to life. It is written on Abyss that now temporarily On will die. so this abyss will go to its real owner. Or then Yongch starts to run away. Hijin catches him. These people reach here where Yongch was lying, and Hijin was unconscious. As soon as she regains consciousness, Hijin asks about her mom. Seun tells her that she was not found anywhere in that building. She cries and starts looking at Yongch with anger. She takes him from there. After that, the police find Seun's mom's body. Seeing her, they start crying. Just then, now Ice comes flying to Charming because he was dead. Long Tool's room, Jiwuk comes out, and with this episode ends. In the next scene, we see that Pass has come, and Yongch is dead. Now we see that Hijin found out that her mom has died, and she starts crying. Or she says to Chamin, "Please bring my mom back to life, just like you saved me." But for now, we have to wait a few days for the body's autopsy. On the other side, that boy gives money to the husband of the accident lady and says, "Don't withdraw the case against Giman." And all this was Chairman's plan to trap Giman in a return case. And the dash camera's memory card was also with him. In the next scene, we see that Mido, who was working, the detective first asks her for water, then tissue. After that, he calls Mido again. So Mido gets angry, and she starts hitting the detective. The detective says, "After Seun's case is over, we will get married." And then he gives her a ring. So she says while crying, "Really?" So the detective says, "Don't cry. If you cry, I will take it back." Hearing this, she forcibly starts kissing him. On the other side, a girl asks Chamin to go for lunch with everyone. And then she sits between Seun and Chamin. So Chamin looks at Seun, but Seun is busy with her food. Now, after eating, Chamin says to Seun, "That girl was sitting between us and was giving me food. Did it not make any difference to you?" So Seun says, No, I am the most beautiful Seun. It doesn't make any difference to me." Just then, that same girl comes there again and gives snacks to Chamin to eat. So Chamin also starts eating to make Seun jealous. And then he also calls Seun to eat. And when Seun starts coming, Chamin says, "Oh no, she brought it only for me. Sharing is a bad thing." Hearing this, that girl says, "Next time I will bring more snacks." So hearing this, Seun goes out. So Chamin deliberately takes coffee for that girl. But just then, a note is already on that girl's table on which it was written, "Mr. Chamin already has a girlfriend. She is also a most beautiful prosecutor, so there is no need to hit on him." Seeing this, Chamin starts laughing because he understands that Seun must have kept this. But just then, that girl comes there. So Chamin says, "These 2 coffees are for me, and I forgot to tell you that I have a most beautiful girlfriend. So from now on, don't bring snacks for me." And then as Chamin takes the coffee and goes to Seun, Seun says, "What happened? Didn't she take the coffee? Give it to me." So Chamin gives her that coffee. After that, Chamin finds out there is a hidden case on Giman. That's why Chamin and Seun go to Giman. So after hearing all of Giman's words, Seun says, "Someone is trapping him. And besides, he was not talking to that victim. Instead, that same boy comes as the victim lady's lawyer." And hearing the lawyer's strange words, Seun understands and says to him, "You are a liar. Give me your degree." Hearing this, that boy starts making excuses and leaves from there. So they both follow him and reach his office. So that boy starts making excuses. So Seun shows him her card and says, "I am prosecutor Seun." Hearing this, that boy says, "We don't give our clients details." And then he tells a face. And Seun draws that face. But Chamin was sitting quietly. So Seun draws the face and shows it to the boy and says, "This is the face, right?" Chamin says, "How will we find him with this face?" Seun says, "I have made it so well, he must not have told it correctly." Now Jiwuk, that is, Taejin, seeing the photo with Yeonchul, Seun understands they have met. On the other side, the chairman, to save his reputation, tells Jiwuk to go abroad. But Jiwuk says, "I will not do this. We are both partners in this." After that, Hijin was scared to go near her mom's body. So Seun leaves from there. But Jiwuk kidnaps Hijin and takes her away. Just then, Seun gets a message from Hijin. "I am going to rest." So Seun talks to Chamin. "We will bring Hijin's mom back to life soon after the autopsy." But Jiwuk hears her words. Now the body is taken for autopsy. So that driver takes the body without letting the police sit. And that driver is no one else but Jiwuk. That's why he knocks Seun unconscious and takes her with him. And Chamin gets a message from Seun. "Quickly reach this address. There is some important work." Just then, Chamin finds out from the coach police, Jiwuk has taken Hijin's mom's body in Seun. On the other side, Seun was locked in cold storage. Seun tries to go out, but among so many containers, she was locked in one container. Hijin's mom's body, she sees Jiwuk taking it away. That's why she asks Jiwuk, "Why did you do this? You are just like Yongch." But Jiwuk throws mom's body in the water so that Chamin cannot bring her back to life, and he also locks Hijin in the car. Just then, Chamin comes and asks Jiwuk, "Where is Seun?" So Jiwuk first asks for Abyss. So Chamin gives Abyss forward, but but Jiwuk cannot see it. Just then, a car comes and hits Jiwuk. Seeing this, Chamin quickly asks Jiwuk for Seun's whereabouts. So Jiwuk says, if I die, she will also die. Saying this, he dies. On the other side, Seun was freezing in the cold. Just then, Chamin comes and saves her. A little later, the police reach there. So Hijin says, I hit Jiwuk, but Jiwuk had disappeared from there. Just then, Seun regains consciousness, and she asks Chamin. Now we see a past scene where Chamin asks Jiwuk about Seun. So Jiwuk doesn't tell. That's why Jiwuk brings him back to life with Abyss. But Jiwuk still doesn't tell. So Chamin starts to beat him and says, I will kill you again and again and bring you back to life. So hearing this, Jiwuk gives Chamin the container number. Now in the present scene, Chamin says, I should not have brought him back to life, but I can't let you die either. After that, the police find out that there was no one's blood there, that it was HYD oxide. Jiwuk had mixed hydroxide in the blood before leaving. That's why there was no evidence against him. After that, Chamin, with his mom's help, spreads this news on the internet that Jiwuk is not the chairman's son, but Yongch's son. All the reporters were asking the chairman questions. Just then, Giman comes there. On the other side, Jiwuk's assistant gives Seun that box, in which there was Jiwuk's childhood photo. In the next scene, Jiwuk says to the chairman, if you want to save your real son, then come with me quietly. Here, Seun messages the detective, contact the courier of that box. Maybe Jiwuk and Yongch are in contact through him. And then Seun falls asleep while sitting. So Chamin picks her up and puts her on the bed. And then Chamin makes breakfast for her in the morning. After eating breakfast, they both start going somewhere. Just then, Chamin's mom says, if you two like staying together so much, then why don't you two get married? After that, Chamin takes Seun to her mom and dad. So Seun's mom sees her and says, are you really Seun? How did you change so much in 4 months? Just then, Chamin orders a cake for his dad's birthday. They all celebrate together. So Seun says, thank you to Chamin. Chamin says, thank you properly, means kiss me. So Seun kisses Chamin. And then, Chamin's mom also comes there. So they all start drinking together. On the other side, it is confirmed that Jiwuk is with Yongch. In the next scene, Chamin and Seun are talking to each other. So Chamin gives a ring to Seun and says, you don't need to answer right now. You can wear this later. And then they both go and put their mom and dad to sleep in the room. And then Chamin puts Seun to sleep in his room and kisses her and leaves from there. When Seun's eyes open at night, her dad is vomiting. So Seun says to her dad, why do you drink so much? I will bring a water bottle now. So dad says, Seun, daughter, you need pocket money. I will give you pocket money now. Then he also regains consciousness. So Seun says, I don't like you drinking, but today you called me daughter, which I liked. And then Seun's mom comes and takes dad away. So Seun comes to the room and tells Chamin, today dad called me daughter. Now in the morning, dad sees both of them coming out of one room and says to Chamin, seeing you happy reminds me of Seun. That girl is nice, and you keep her happy. I always thought that you are the best for my daughter. Hearing this, Chamin says, this means you like me. So dad starts praising Chamin, which Chamin records everything and says, I will show this to Chamin later. On the other side, the police do not find any strong evidence against that curial of Jiwuk. That's why Seun was upset. So Chamin and Seun change their faces and go to Jiwuk's house for an investigation. So they find a scissor there. Just then, Jiwuk comes there. So they both hide and run away. When Jiwuk hears a sound, he comes there, but by then they both have run away. So Jiwuk sees them in the CCTV and hides it. Yongch, like every time after a murder, had also stitched Seun's body. And Jiwuk had cut that stitch with this scissor. That's why maybe Jiwuk's fingerprint will be found on this scissor. After that, they all drink and get very drunk. So the detective says to Seun, Midu, you broke my heart, but to come back, thank you. Seeing this, Chamin pushes him away, and Midu says, I am Mado. And then they all do a lot of drama in a drunken state. After that, when their eyes open in the morning, Seun says to Chamin, my stomach is hurting a lot. So Chamin says, this looks like my mom's room. So mom is sitting outside and says, they threw me out of my room. And they had done all this last night in a drunken state. That's why these two are sitting with their faces hanging in front of mom and are apologizing to mom. So mom says to Seun, will you marry my son? So Seun says, right now, a lot of mess is going on in my life, but after everything is fine, I will get married. I hope you will definitely approve. Saying this, they go to the detective. So the detective says, Jiwuk's fingerprint was not found on the scissor. Jiwuk had already removed it, and no mess was found in the autopsy either. Then they also catch the person who messed up in the autopsy, and that person also admits, Jiwuk told me to do this. And then the police come to Jiwuk's house to investigate, and from there, they pick up the scissor and keep it with them. Chamin had kept the scissor there, on which Jiwuk's fingerprint was there. Seun says to Chamin, You don't use Abyss now, it has rainbow-like colors. This means that you can use it only once. If it disappears, then what will happen? Chamin says, don't worry, nothing will happen. In the next scene, an arrest warrant is issued against Jiwuk, but Jiwuk goes out to buy something from the flat. Here, Chamin and Seun were happy that now Jiwuk will be caught. And then Chamin shows his wish list to Seun. After that, Jiwuk was going to the hospital, and he shows the chairman a photo of his real son, Jiwuk, and says, announce on the news that I am your real son, and only by saving me, your son will be saved. And then he kidnaps his son. Here, Chamin and Seun spend time together and also wear matching t-shirts. Chamin eats all her ice cream, so Seun runs after him. On the other side, the chairman announces, I had murdered my wife during a fight 25 years ago, and my real son was injured in it. And Giman had chased Jiwuk on the chairman's orders when he was kidnapping the real Jiwuk. Then the chairman says, I joined hands with him to hide my crime, and for so many years I also raised Yongch's son. Hearing this, Jiwuk leaves. After that, Chamin looks at Abyss and says, well, now this is its last chance, if it happens that it is needed. And just then it is written on Abyss that when Abyss disappears, its owner will also disappear. So Chamin says to Seun, we should also enjoy the small joys of our life. And Seun had also worn the ring given by Chamin. And then Seun gives a ring to Chamin and proposes for marriage. Hearing this, Chamin says yes. But here Chamin was sad because he knew everything about Abyss. And then they both make a time capsule which they will open later. And then they both go to an amusement park and enjoy a lot. But just then, Seun's ice cream falls. So Chamin brings her a new ice cream. When Chamin brings the ice cream, just then Jiwuk grabs Seun and threatens to kill her. So Chamin says, whoever you kill, I will bring her back to life. So Jiwuk says, I will kill you too. So Chamin says, fine, kill me, but I will not die because Abyss is with me. And then Seun pushes Jiwuk. So a fight starts between Chamin and Jiwuk. But then Jiwuk shoots the gun, which hits Seun. So Chamin shoots at Jiwuk's leg. Just then, the police come there and catch Jiwuk. So Seun also dies, but Chamin takes her home and brings her back to life with Abyss. So Seun says, I was scared that I would never see you again, and did you use Abyss? So Chamin says, whatever happens, but don't blame yourself. Just then, the light of Abyss disappears, and Chamin also slowly disappears. So Chamin says, even if I am not with you, you still stay strong and brave. I am very happy to have brought you back to life, so you stay happy. So Seun cries a lot and gets admitted to the hospital. So the detective says, maybe he already knew. And then they make Seun listen to Chamin's audio, in which Seun had said, I am taking Seun home until you come. I won't be there. I used Abyss, so I will have to repay it. I will save Seun, and I will find a new way for Seun to live, and I will definitely come back. And then when Chamin's mom finds out about his disappearance, she says, like before, Chamin will come back now. I trust my son. Give me food. I have to stay strong. On the other side, Jiwuk is sentenced to death for his crimes. After that, seeing Seun sad, Mido says, the one who can bring you back to life will definitely find some way to come back. And until then, we will wait for him together. And here, Seun's mom and dad see the DNA test and understand that Seun is our daughter, and why didn't you tell us this before? On the other side, Chamin's mom's mom falls ill, and Seun goes to Chamin's secret room and remembers him. And when she sees Abyss, she says, I had left it there, so how did it come here? And then she becomes happy seeing Chamin's photo, and she also watches the video in which her dad is praising Chamin. Seeing this, Seun cries a lot. So Mido comes and consoles her. Now in this way, 3 years pass. So Seun had started working with Mido. After that, Mido and the detective get married. So Seun gives them Hijin's parcel because she couldn't come to the wedding. Now after attending the wedding, Seun comes to Hijin. Wherever Seun used to go, Abyss used to come with her. After that, Seun was imagining Chamin while sleeping, but Chamin was not there. Just then, the pages of the diary start opening on their own. In the next scene, Seun goes on a date, that too alone. When she was coming back, she was missing Chamin. But just then, her ice cream falls. Just then, a voice comes from behind Seun. As soon as Seun looks behind, Chamin was standing in front of her. Chamin says, sorry, I took too long. But Seun thinks that she is dreaming. So Chamin takes her hand and puts it on his face and says, I am Chamin. Hearing this, Seun doesn't say anything but hugs Chamin. So Seun was just crying. Then they both go home. So Chamin tells her, I missed you a lot. And then he tells her, when I died, my eyes opened. Then the grave angel told me that you should not have used abyss. Now you will have to suffer a lot. You cannot stay here. And then we are told that Chamin had come back, but he couldn't even touch anyone and no one could see him either. And he had just become a soul. But just then, that same old man sees Chamin and asks him to come with him because he had abyss. That's why now Chamin says, even after using abyss, I stayed with you. This means that whenever you saw me, I was there. And then Seun falls asleep. After that, Chamin and Seun take out the time capsule, and both of them were married. Now we see a past scene. At that time, the old man had told Chamin that abyss will give you a unique gift, and only after that will it disappear. Now in the present scene, Chamin says, Seun is already with me. So now what unique gift is there? Just then, abyss disappears. And at that very moment, Seun comes and tells Chamin, I am pregnant. Hearing this, Chamin becomes very happy. And Seun shows him the time capsule in which there were small babies' clothes. Seeing this, Seun says, this is out of fashion, but still cute. And then they both start having fun. And right here, this drama has a happy ending.